Okay, and welcome back, right? So today I got a good one for you guys. Today I want to talk about when you're trapped in something, right? Obviously, I got a couple of really good shows here that I'm gonna hit you guys with first, right? Like this is not just a wild myth lab. This is very structured, and this is gonna be very specific, and we're gonna look at like what these shows were actually saying, like the actual bare bones of what these shows were collectively saying to us and to the people in these environments by how these environments were structured, right? This is some very specific type of storytelling, right? And as we delve into it, like each one of these shows, which I think if we're talking about the totality of the shows, we're going between like the mid to late 60s to like the early to mid 70s. So all these shows in real time kind of consume like a 10-year period. Well, okay, so we're saying, okay, Gilligan's Island goes from 1964 to 1967, right? That's the time period that we're looking at. Lost in Space overlaps a little bit. It goes from 1965 to 1968. And then Good Times is more like mid 70s to the end of the 70s, 1974 to 1979, right? So some time gap between these, but not a huge gap. Obviously, there were some different things that were going on at the various time periods that we're going to look at from these shows. So they didn't share a lot other than that they were all on TV, right? And what they kind of focused on showed a lot more clearly. Like we can get the differences between Gilligan's Island and Good Times and like what they represent, right? And so that's a different conversation, right? But what I'm talking about right now is the structure of being trapped. Like, and I guess I can't ignore the historical context because the way in which they're all trapped is really different. Like, okay, right? So right off the bat with Gilligan's Island, like we know Gilligan's Island a bit, right? We know about this show, right? This is like, mid 1960s. So a lot of the stuff is still, Cold War. This is pre-moon landing. We're deep into optimism post-World War II suburbia. And the whole premise is that you get these 7 castaways who are stranded on this desert island after a 3-hour, like, supposedly boat tour. So I don't know where they could have been at, where you were only destined to go 3 hours away and somehow you never make it back. That's shocking to me and keeps me afraid of any boats on any level all the time. I'm afraid to go to Catalina Island because of what happened to Gilligan, right? This makes no sense to me at all, right? But this is our premise, that they're stuck here. So this is pure escapism like comedy, right? And within the subtext, you have, class satire. You have millionaire, you have movie star, a professor, you have a farm girl, you have the working class crew. So they give you a lot structurally in this, right? So this is like, kind of theatrical. It's not strong acting. This is multi-camera sitcom, right? The outside world barely matters in any real regard. Like they come in, they float out. Okay. So when we talk about this next one, right, the Lost in Space, which is groundbreaking. We're still doing. No one's done another Gilligan's Island, right? We haven't replicated Gilligan's Island. Okay, we've taken multiple runs at Lost in Space. Like Lost in Space, I think was even on Netflix. Like I don't know, not that long ago. I remember watching it, maybe like 5 years ago. Something like that, right? And we've even had a major film release of essentially, Lost in Space, at scale, right? They did a really good job of kind of, mimicking all elements of what Lost in Space actually was, right? So we totally see like Lost in Space really lasts. Good Time hangs on in like lore, like it's mythic comedy lore. Like Good Times is a show that like it's almost the worst premise out of all of them, right? Like it's a decade ahead, so this isn't anything to do with the Cold War, nothing to do with space exploration. This is all post civil rights. This is all because of the civil rights that you get this show. This is also tied to like culture, because this is the culture of people leaving the rural South, right, and going into the cities. This is really what the Evans family represented. Like this is what it was. So it's very telling that they go that path, and what they find in this urban environment is a trap, right? A trap that they're now caught in. So this isn't lost on us, right? We're not lost on like the premise of Good Times and why these shows so like insightful in some ways, but also very problematic in a lot of other ways, right? So now I've given you guys the premise of like what it is. Like you're trapped in wherever you trapped at for various reasons. Good Times chose to be an economic trap. You're trapped here because your economy won't let you out. We're going to talk about that, right? On Gilligan's Island, this is a geographic trap. Like you're just on some island and your boat's down and you don't have the power to communicate with anybody. And it sounds like you're not even that far away from civilization. Like it really sounds like you're not that far. Like this sounds like a solvable problem, right? I don't know if it's making like anyway, I'll get into it, right? But on Lost in Space, like you're trapped in space. Like you're on the highest level you're lost in space. Like that, if that doesn't imply dread, I don't know what would imply dread in your life. To be lost in space, like just this, like the existential dread of being in space and I can't never get back home. It's consciousness shattering is what it is, right? Like let's be really honest. This is gonna shatter your normal mind. Like I'm telling you, man, I'm telling you guys, like I've traveled a little bit and I'm telling you, I went to the other side of the planet a couple of times. Like my first time there, I remember standing back and being like, holy damn, I'm as far as I've ever been away from like base in my entire life, right? Like when you're a kid, you go through layers of that. Like I'm in a new neighborhood or I'm in a new block. This was the furthest I'd ever been away from home with like phone, passport, backpack, deal with it, right? Like that's the ultimate strategy, right? So that takes a lot, right? Like it's a weird sensation. But I always knew that, okay, I can get back. Like there's a mechanism for me to get back home and it's relatively easy. It's just execution at this point, right? So that's what we're dealing with. It's like how each one of these like dreads sits on you and like what were the environments that these dreads were ultimately like put you in, right? And I'm telling you right now, like right off the bat, man, like Good Times is the worst one. Like right before I even get into it, like I'm going to really explain to you why Good Times is the worst one, not really in comparison, because it's already proven itself to me. Like Good Times was the one, like Gilligan, yeah, you guys should have been able to get off that island, right? You should have been able to make it off the island. You guys not being able to navigate getting off this island is the most mind-boggling aspect of this entire show, right? Like you guys mounted, and people were regularly, you guys were in some, it wasn't that rare of a boating lane for people, obviously. There were numerous people who came through Gilligan's Island over the years, right? So it wasn't like it was shocking that someone got there. You guys just couldn't, like, maybe, whatever. We'll talk about Gilligan. We're going to talk about the Evans family right now because this is it's existential form of, like, isolation. And I'm glad I got to use the word existential today. That's really about my personal growth right there. But I'm going to get right into it because Evans, I've always had a problem with this family right here, right? And it's just, like, the whole thing, man, like, the whole thing is just, like, a real, like, mindful screw job. Like, you're trapped in the ghetto, right? And you cannot get out no matter what. Like, and each one of them faces their own type of, like, personal, this is terrible for me, right? For James, he finds himself fighting against the machine. Like, this is the main one. You got, okay, again, I give you guys a backstory. Like, this is Cabrini Green. I'm pretty sure this is Cabrini Green, which is a very, like, I believe infamous is the right word. If I'm wrong, like, someone please correct me. But I believe this is the same place that Candyman takes place at, right? I believe this is Cabrini Green, which, if you guys don't know about Cabrini Green, and I could be totally wrong on this, but if I'm right, because this, look at the walls. Does this not look like the same kind of place that Candyman came out of the walls? I believe that this is the same housing project, supposed to be, because it's Chicago. It's like, I don't know what side of town Chicago is, okay? But if I believe it was supposed to be Cabrini Green, or probably in the same neighborhood, and I believe Cabrini Green is also where the Candyman was at. So that should tell you everything right off the bat about what it's like dealing with Good Times, right? And again, you're Southern people. These are people who come from the rural South, and now you're inserted in this. And this is a lot of times how it was. Like, think about JJ having to deal with the gang environment, Like imagine you're a Southern dude, like you come from Southern roots, like James, you're Southern. You guys aren't used to like dealing with stuff like that. Like they dealt like, you know, not that Southerners are soft, they're used to dealing with different social structures. And having people compact in here, like that's the real torture of Good Times to me. Is like I'm trapped in this house and it's too many people. It is far too many people in this house. Like that's stress number one for me. And there's like barely any windows. Like, and even seeing out the window, we're way up. Like it's not that comforting. I don't know what you guys get. Like I get it. Like the penthouse on the sky. Like it to me, it's unsettling. I can see ground. I like to be able to touch grass, right? So this whole scenario right now is just a pressure cooker of like everything. And I understand why Candyman would be over here, right? This is the one place where it makes sense at for the Candyman to be right here, okay? Yeah, I'm telling you, just look at the walls and think about Trevor's apartment at the end of this, right? Where they were painting all over it and they turn into high-rise apartments. That's what they do. They always turn the projects into something great and jack up the price, right? Because now it's central or whatever reason that they have. So this is what Good Times environment is dealing with. And it's stacked against them. Like it is stacked against them while they try to hang on to Southern rural belief systems while in this contemporary environment, right? And the first thing was that, you know, Florida didn't work, right? Florida didn't work for no reason other than she was supposed to be a homemaker, right? And this is right, like historically, this is right before we get into my era, right? Like this show comes out in 74, it goes to 79. I was born in 72, right? So I'm like, you know, just being formed. By the time I was Michael's age or younger, we were fully latchkey kids, right? So the mom did work. Like that was the readjustment. It really didn't give it the context, but if you look at historical context, that's what was going on. It's like rural people who came from more rural areas were now starting to adjust with like the city, which was also like the cost. And this were where we started really requiring two income homes, right? That's where it really got like channeled into. So this show was all about that. It was all about the economics. So right off the bat, what they were doing was they were hanging on to some antiquated or belief systems that were being challenged at that time structurally, right? So James was used to being in an environment where his skill, his, you know, all that masculinity really counted more in a world where they were kind of minimizing those things. And education was what was going against him, right? So right off the bat, like it wasn't like James wasn't a hardworking dude. It wasn't even like James wasn't righteous. That's actually what's actually more terrifying about this, right? Is that they were actually good people. They never did anything wrong. Like the Evans, if we go by like karmic beliefs, the Evans didn't deserve anything that was going on with them. Like the Evans deserved to have a good life because they were good. Like internally, they were good people. They were kind to others. Like, you know, I always criticize Florida for her name, first of all, but also like her whole like sense of the Bible and all, like how she comes about it gets to me. But I have to say she's rooted in some very strong social and cultural behaviors about being kind to other people and looking up. So there's a lot of good stuff that comes out of it, right? And overall, I can say that Evans never hurt anybody. Like not one single person was ever traumatized or hurt by the Evans family. They're open to everyone. Like they didn't have anything. So there's so much good out of them that they didn't deserve. But they're trapped in this, man. And it's existential trap. Like I see why James died on the show. Like James didn't go off and get in a car accident. James killed himself. James got away and was like, I ain't never going back over there again, right? Like I'm killing myself. This is terrible. Or even worse, he just ran off. But this is what James's legacy was. Like James is like, you're the pops, like you're the breadwinner, you're constantly working multiple jobs, you're always hustling, you're prideful. It never adds up for him. Like his pride becomes like his psychological armor and his anger becomes his reason. That's what defined James. And like he wants to control. So he's not just a poor man, he's a man whose identity is being challenged and undermined by the system, right? That's what he gets, right? All of his masculinity doesn't net any rewards for James Evans. Like that's where it really gets problematic for him. So he doesn't ever break down because he's weak. He breaks because you're trying to navigate this system that's structurally not set up to be fair, right? Like we get it. The system was not structurally set up for you to fear. And the Evans were not on any type of, well, I guess you were on public assistance. I don't know if you could be a family and move into a project like that. I think that's maybe, I know there was some contention about them having a father on the show, and maybe because you might not have been able to get this kind of housing if you had a man in the house. Like, this is during that era as well. So some important stuff that goes on in this like real historical timeline stuff that if you look at it, it has a different, it like kind of hits in a different way, right? And that's just being mindful of it. Okay, and then we get to Florida, who nobody got on my nerves more than anyone else on that show. Like, she was like the center of it. She's also like their moral center, right? Her survival mechanism is belief. She's not naive. She's not naive, right? It is strategic beliefs. So she puts her faith in emotional regulation. She puts her faith in family stabilization, right? She gives of herself, wanting to again be in that environment. I love you. I provide help and nurturing for you, and then when I'm down, so she's all about cultivating that culture with Willona, with I can't remember the lady, man, who was also like on 227, who lived in that project too. Like everyone, like the whole, like, you know, not everybody in the project, but they had a lot of alliances within that project. So she's always like the one who has to keep the family morally grounded, or by her morals. So she's like reality versus her dignity. Which do you value more? And for her, she always values her dignity more. She does not allow poverty to define her self-worth. And actually, Florida carries herself with dignity all the time. Like, Esther Roll actually does a really good job of carrying like an extremely dignified woman. Like, she is that. I never liked Florida, right? I don't like Florida. I would never want to kick it with Florida any day of the week, anywhere. But she is a good person. Like, morally, she's an upright woman. She carries herself very well. She's very dignified, how she talks to people, how she presents herself. Like, bravo for Florida Evans. Like, she absolutely deserved more than what she got too. Like, I gotta give up to you, Florida. I can't really bash on you. Like, I do bash on you for some things that you did, but like how she carried herself, like, man, exemplary. Like, absolutely love Florida in that regard. So she has a strong coping mechanism. She does keep her family bond together. Morally, they're very strong people, so I can't discount the actual results of what the Evans were getting. Like, their children were actually good kids, right? They give JJ a little bit of, like, I know he had some sticky fingers, and they allude to that, which I'm not ignoring, and I think that may have even been the first understanding of how different you have to raise your kids in this environment. Because the other two, it seems like they got a lot more in line. But JJ, like, is a fascinating character because he's kind of a breakthrough, and he's also more limited than the other kids, right? He's creative, he's artistic, he's charismatic, right? But he becomes kind of exaggerated. Like, the whole thing kind of overshadows his actual complexity if they really thought about who he was supposed to be. And maybe that's Jimmy Walker who did it too much, right? Like, he should be more, I don't know, right? He had visibility, but I do think, like, they kind of flattened him out to kind of just being jokes, right? When he was, I think he should have been more complex than that, given like his strong artistic side. But that's debatable. But JJ did what he had to do. Like, no matter what, JJ was a little far out. He's more promiscuous than I think the family would have liked, but that's also kind of a product of where you living at now. Like, those things kind of break down a little bit when you lose some of the intimacy, right, and privacy. Like, that stuff breaks down. That's just the truth about it. And he kind of, you know, and he faces a lot more like real, like, he's the one constantly getting jacked up, like, by the gangs out there, because he's at that age. He's the one dealing with the police. Like, JJ catches a lot of nonsense, like, you know, and even like his dating history, those things would come back on him because you would see him kind of like inheriting a lot of, like, you know, you dealing with, like, Debbie Allen was on drugs, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they dealt with some stuff. And the Evans as a family, they dealt with some real issues. They did not, like, hide behind anything. The ghetto came with it, man. Like, they did with all of them. And with the same, like, you know, level heads. Like, even James, like James is still a very straight dude. Honest James. Like, when if I had to be like, okay, I need someone to hold this $500 for me, even though he's broke, to give me my $500 back when I came for it. That's who James will be, right? 100%, right? So he's that trustworthy. He's that trustworthy, and that's the whole family. And then there's Michael, right? And Michael's like, I like Michael because obviously you militant, right? Like I like the brainy. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like Michael represented a couple things. Again, I think that struggle that he had with his parents, like with his expanded level of thinking, like with intelligence, he has a more expanded level of thinking because he's exposed to more things. Not that he's, necessarily like he's smarter, but it's relative. Like his parents would have been more worldly had they had the opportunity to be exposed. Like we get that. That's something that we had to deal with that generation, as we were saying, okay, we're getting exposed to more education than you guys, just right off the rip, right? Just off the rip. So as children of that, we have to temper understanding that my pops doesn't know this stuff just because no one taught him. Not because he's not smart enough to understand these concepts, right? Sometimes that's true, right? There's no shame in saying that, right? But structurally, from generation to generation, they just lack the exposure to education in the same way, right? And I'm supposed to expand it because I'm given these opportunities that you and Grandpa were denied. So that's kind of where Michael really hits. And I think he does a good job of like balancing it, like, I'm going to weigh out how I say it and still be militant. I think he does a good job. And Michael represents structurally the most hope. He has the most hope. Him, and I'll talk about the Golden Girl here in a moment, right? He is high up on my you can get out of this, right? JJ's a little bit more challenged, right? Michael, this is where true opportunity starts to be there, right? And I don't know if Michael ever has to compromise himself. There's some opportunities where I think he's going to have to a little bit, but I don't know that Michael has to give up that much of who he is at this day and age. I think Michael could achieve what Michael wanted to be. I could see Michael going to law school. I could see Michael getting into like community politics. I can see all that stuff from Michael, and it absolutely makes sense. And then of course there's Thelma, and like Thelma, of course, is she's the golden girl because she's got not just intelligent, like Thelma's also intelligent. Let's not discount that Thelma was intelligent and Thelma was a good student. Let's not discount any of those elements of Thelma. And Thelma was also very ambitious. Like Thelma wanted to do stuff for herself. That's who Thelma was. So we're not going to discount that part of Thelma and then talk about how fine Thelma was. She had that, and she was very beautiful. So Thelma literally did have the best path out of there, right? And how they just use really crappy writing to trap her there, right? With the key. She meets a guy who's like the football player, the nice football player. She's supposed to be, this is after the African dude, eBay, and all that. And she still should have took that deal. But so she has Keith, and then of course JJ ruins all that, right? Which is messed up to do to JJ, and messed up for her too. So this is an F for Keith. Everybody took it straight. Everyone took it straight on that episode, right? Where Keith's knee gets damaged. There's no reason for that. That's just cruelty from the writers on a level that just shouldn't exist. But let's talk about the ghetto or where they lived, the projects that they lived as like a whole breathing creature. It was almost like this place was possessed, right? This place had everything that you could manifest. You had people who had alcohol abuse, you had gang violence, you had shoddy, like the electricity would go out, the water would go out, gang wars downstairs, like everything. Elevator would stop. They're like on the 17th floor or something ridiculous, right? Something where I would be like, yeah, I can't live up there because I'm never gonna, like, if I have to walk up there right now, it's never gonna happen. Like either if I have to walk up there, I'm never coming back down, right? Like I would have to have that kind of life. And I don't know if you can get DoorDash to climb 18 flights of stairs for you. I'm not sure if that's a certainty or not. So dealing with this situation, it's a pressure cooker. And it's almost like a cruel irony that they even call it good times. That's an irony that's not lost on me. Like that's a precious kind of cruel irony that you're taught to be happy with the little like micro good things that happen in your life, right? But it keeps you humble. It absolutely keeps you humble. And overall, like I said, I like the Evans more than I thought I did as I talk about them. And I've had to come to terms with some things about Florida, right? That's just fundamentally the truth. But I think reconciling those things, like, again, it's a terrible situation. Like, they do have, on a long term, they structurally have some good things if they cooperate, right? Obviously, you're kind of waiting for, look, Thelma, right? Look, you need that she needs a do-over on her husband assignment. It's okay to get a divorce and go pick a new husband, right? But looking at Thelma being able to expand her future through like marrying up and probably getting herself educated, which I think is a big thing. Thelma can have a huge impact on her family. I think JJ was aligned morally as a good guy who was willing to work. So I think JJ's future, it was tough because you're that young black man. I think it was a tougher route for him, but I definitely think with Michael, like with the structure they had, like Thelma and James, you guys get out when your kids like finally, you know what I'm saying? Like as a family, they're gonna have to make some moves. And it's just tough. It was tough, right? It's not that we're trapped in here, but man, like damn, you can't tell me they're not trapped in there. And then Keith has that knee accident, because like that was gonna help the whole family. The whole family was about to come up. Thelma was about to move out. Her and Keith were gonna start their life. They probably would have helped the family. You know what I'm saying? Like that's where it would have started, man. Thelma goes into real estate. Now the family gets a house, right? So that's kind of the structure of what they're looking at, okay? But it shouldn't have been an impossible situation. They were just making it like these are evil writers who decide to make this, right? This is their art, which is no art. You're saying for an entire show, all these people, you have zero art. You're never getting out of the ghetto. And that was the truth just behind who they are, right? Okay. So now let's look at Gilligan's Island. And this is an entirely different type of isolation, right? They're trapped on this island. And you know what? It's kind of not that bad. Like it's bad, like I get it, because it's not a hope-crushing environment. You're not at risk, right? Like your life most of the time, unless someone there is hunting you, they don't even seem like they endure bad weather. Like this is like, I feel like this is Santa Barbara. This has to be like 7 miles outside of Santa Barbara or something like that, where the weather's good all the time. I only remember a couple of storms, right? And even the storms always wash something good up on land. So the whole premise is that they get, trapped during a storm and now they're stranded forever, right? So this is more like a controlled social experiment. This is really what it is, right? Like psychologically, they strip everyone of their identity. That's what really happens. That's what Gilligan's Island is all about. It's about taking your identity from you, because you're no longer who you were, right? Like the closer you were to that ship's identity, Gilligan and the skipper can maintain their identity because we still look at you as like structure. So Gilligan is just like, it's a weird thing, man. Like he plays a role of a saboteur where I can't really even mess with Gilligan. Like I don't mess with Gilligan, man. I do not mess with Gilligan in any kind of way, shape, or form. The safest thing for you, Gilligan, I love you too, okay? The smartest thing for you to do is to go over there. Whatever we're doing, we've got enough data on. I know you're not doing this intentionally. I know you want to help, okay? But let's stop this nonsense. As a group, let's stop this. Let's stop the self-sabotage of Gilligan. We will be back when everything is cool, Gilligan. We're going to come and we're going to take you and we're going to get everybody to go home. But you have to stay over there, okay? Because I don't know, like your impulse control, you're emotional, you're reactive, like you mess up every single attempt to get off of this. Like you're the main thing getting us off this island. A lot of times it's you. And I'm just saying, in a real live pressure cooker like this, somebody would have got at Gilligan already, man. It would already happen. It's like somebody would have put hands on Gilligan. I feel like it would have been Mr. Howe. That's what I feel like. I feel like I'm rich. I want to get off this island really bad because I have a great rich guy life, right? Ginger's like, yeah, I'm a starlet. I'm beautiful, and I'm losing my prime years on this island, getting way too much sun, right, and not working out like I should, right, but eating pretty healthy. And then so you get the skipper, who's just like, man, like this is a weird scenario. Technically you're in charge, but like all you kind of do is boost morale. You don't show any real like hierarchy or enforcement or pre-planning or resort, nothing. You show nothing other than you have on a shirt and the captain's hat, which oddly enough, I respect that you got it tilted to the east. For some reason, I respect that you got your cap tilted to the side. I don't know why. I don't even know why you're doing it. I feel like it doesn't mean the same thing for you that it does for me, but whatever. You're repping it, so I'm willing to deal with that. So he's just like, he's just like there. You're not real. I guess you're kind of security. You're the biggest guy there, right? And I guess you've been through the Navy. I guess him and Gilligan went through the Navy or something like that. Right? And then there's the professor who, like, man, the professor is the guy I would ordinarily lean into as being like, okay, this is our hope right here, right? This is our hope right here. You can build a coconut build a radio out of some coconuts. You can create batteries. You can come up with, complex solutions, but you can't patch this hole in the boat. This is where everything kind of breaks down. I'm not saying this boat has to go and win a regala or anything like that. I'm simply saying, like, you can't patch this boat. Like, our lives literally depend on this. We have ample, like, wood supplies. Like, you seem to be able to make some type of adhesive. Like, I'm just saying, maybe get us close enough and we can start identifying other. I don't know. But the fact that, like, the boat is there and it's just, like, completely, like, I see the hole in the boat. But I just would have think, like, every day we'd be working on how to get this hole patched up. Like, maybe, like, whatever materials we have to gather, however long it takes, like, I would just think that would be, But psychologically, what he shows is, like, he gets removed from his environment and even he gets limited. So you don't fully strip out his identity, but we lessen his identity as the professor, right? And he kind of represents, like, this old, like, cold, this is post-Cold War, so this how we feel about science, right? He's the smartest man in the room and he's still stuck, right? And then there's the House, who I feel terrible about this for them, right? Oddly enough, I do, because they're like, I can't believe the only thing Mr. Howell can look forward to is that his money's stacking up, but he's got to get back there to be rich and not be able to like, here it doesn't, like, it works a little bit because I'm like, yeah, Mr. Howell does have money, so if I'm being his manservant while I'm here, I could foreseeably see them breaking me up. Now, this is the thing of rich people, they don't be liking to pay you, right? So there's that issue, right? But all that loses value when I realize you ain't getting out of here either. If we ain't getting out of here, then I don't have a reason. Like, Lovey, you could wipe that silly look off your face, Lovey, because I'm already tired of you. All right, I've been tired of Lovey as soon as the show came on. All right, I was tired of Lovey. But this is where the Howells are. Like, and this is on Mr. Howell. You need to be the guy who's the rich guy there and organize this shit together. You need to bring labor and research together. You have a labor division in Gilligan and the skipper, okay? You have labor and you have a research and develop. You have R&D, and you have construction. You have two things that are essential, and you need to put this stuff together because you have the most to gain by getting off this island, right? Like, your whole identity is now wrapped up. Like, Ginger's still gorgeous, just in a smaller audience, right? Your richness doesn't matter. Like, the first time someone smacks you for saying something crazy, you're gonna realize I need to get back to where the money is, right? So it's crucial for you, okay? Ginger, it's also a must that I bust, right? Like, say this, man. Like, you gotta start manipulating these simpletons into, like, urgency to getting them off this island. Like, you're the only one. You're the only one who has magical abilities. You're the only one who can coordinate all the focus on you and getting you back to being happy where you want to be. And I'm just saying, like, man, otherwise you just trapped here with a bunch of losers, and you're a young star. You're a Hollywood starlet. You're a Hollywood starlet. Like, and you're getting way too much sun, and you're not getting the stuff that you need to take care of your face. Meanwhile, Joan Crawford's out there just banking your money, right? Annette Bening's taking your paychecks. Whoever, right? That's what you got on the line, right? But somehow she's surviving and she stays an influential character, right? Like, somehow she keeps it together. Marianne, I'm like, yeah, come on, Marianne. I don't know for Marianne, like, look, you're chilling there. Everything's pretty stable. I'm not dissing farm girl life. Like, I'm sure she loves her farm and her people. And I'm just going to leave it at that, right? But I seem like she could accept this a little bit easier to me. Like, I feel like Gilligan and Marianne, they don't have as much motivation as everybody else. I'm simply saying that. I'm not saying that her life isn't great and that she doesn't love where she comes from. I'm just saying, like, I don't feel like you have the eye of the tiger the same way everyone else should. On paper. I'm willing to say on paper. But the show itself, like, it strips you of every part of your identity. Lovey isn't Lovey. Like, who cares? Like, you're walking around with, like, a mink stole on it, some pearls, and nobody cares. Like, and that's Lovey's whole identity. That's who she is. She's nothing without that, right? So these people, they got to be rich, but they reset you hardcore. Like, This is a lesson for that ass, man. This is humility. This is what humility looks like, right? You're a scientist and you can't navigate how to get off of an island, right? You're a rich guy. Like Mark Cuban would have had like the professor on this research and Marianne working on some farm tech. He would have had all those nuts gathered together to make a proper stew. That's what the rich guy is supposed to do. That's how you got rich. Like you just inherited money, Thurston, right? So we see about you. So we talked about two like really different types of isolation, right? Like and each of them comes with their own frustration and levels of like torment, right? Like who's getting tormented? And this is like Gilligan's Island, like I said, this is just like a social experiment more than anything else. Strip you of your identity and see who you are at that point. And they've all kind of hung on to major parts of their identity, right? But this is where it really gets deeper, right? And now we're talking lost in space, which holy Christ, right? I'm lost in space. I'm just saying, guys, let the gravity, pun intended, of that sit with you. Let that sit with you that you're going through space and then all of a sudden you guys make one turn and now you're lost. I don't know if you guys ever been lost. I don't know if you guys have ever been like really lost. Like I have no fucking idea where I am. Like, man, like, Jesus. Man, so in a previous life, I had to go to like, man, this big, massive hotel, like the Gaylord Hotels, right? I know, hysterical name. The Gaylord Hotels, I know they're throughout like Texas and in Tennessee. And I had to go to an event for work back when I did that kind of stuff. And I had to stay at this massive, or the event was there. And we booked late, so I couldn't stay there. So anyway, I had to go there for the event, and it drops me off, and I'm so damn far away from where I had to go that is ridiculous. Like, just being lost. They're massive. These are massive places with, like, full hotels. They have, like, a couple of stages. Like, these places are massive. Once you go in, you're checked in as a guest. It's an amazing wonderland to be at. But they're so big, and they're multi-levels, like, getting lost on the steady, right? And I had to go from one end all the way to the other. I felt like it was a 2-day journey. I was tired by the time I got there. There's nothing worse than being lost somewhere, and especially when you're lost in space, because you ain't getting home. Especially, you're all scientist level, so you're all smart enough to know that you ain't getting home. Even the kids should know this. Like, they're all looking, but man, I don't even have a lot in me to motivate me to try to get home, because we ain't gonna get home. Like, that's what it is. Like, you're drifting in space. Now remember, this is 1965. This is the height of the space race. So this is reflecting a lot of like what we're already thinking. Like, people were thinking about, the Americans are like, yeah, we're gonna take Mars. This is when we're like, yeah, we're gonna take Mars. Back then we were like, yeah, Mars. I don't know if you're ready, but if you ain't ready, you should get ready. All right, it's better to be ready because we're already on our way. So this is the whole premise, is that the Robinson family is selected for space colonization, right? But then sabotage throws them off course. Now they're drifting with like one military guy with them, right? Another like weird older guy and your kids. It is a very socially awkward looking scenario. 100%, right? This is very, very weird because you have this married couple, right? Okay, we're gonna get into this because you have this married couple. This is the optics on it. You have this married couple and they have a daughter who's adult age and good looking, right? They have another daughter who's like kind of preteen or that early teen, and then they have a son. And then you got this single guy up there, the pilot, who's a single guy. And he's already making eyes at your oldest daughter, while your other younger daughter eventually is going to be making eyes at him too. And then you got this older, weird doctor and your young son. I'm going to let it sit right there. So this is what we got. You have the head of the family, right? John Robinson, who is the leader, and he leads throughout this infinite level of like, he has certain. This guy is rational. He's completely in control of himself. How he stays completely in control of himself, I have no freaking idea. But he's rational. He's scientific. He's calm under pressure. He gets it. Like, on Earth, he has structures that support him. Up in space, he doesn't have any like structural background. But he keeps the family in line. He keeps communication. Like, he kind of keeps it going. He keeps his family ticking along when it really doesn't have any reason to think that it should just keep ticking along, right? It really shouldn't. This is crazy. You guys are not going to get back home. I don't know how long they ran the series out, but I'm sure it didn't end with you guys getting back home, right? Maybe you found wherever you're going, okay? But I didn't see that part. I haven't seen that part. So I'm just looking at what I can see. And then the mother here, right? We see the mother next to him. Like, this is the emotional gravity center. And it stays consistent over multiple renditions of this. So the newer movie kind of fits the same kind of thing. Like, she's, like in this one, the early one, I felt like, obviously, the 60s, they kind of minimize her role. But I think it's expanded her leadership, especially on the newer one, like the Netflix series, right? And then of course you got Will. Like, this is the kid, and this is the guy who really keeps it going. Like, Will Robinson is like the fuel. He's like a little bit more of the chaos, and he's inserted in there because he comes with some naivety, right? Some just general goodwill. He will always ask questions, and it doesn't seem like he's ever impacted by the life that, like, there are no chicks around here in my age range. None. There's not even a predictable chance that I'm gonna get to go see one. And I'm the youngest person here. I have 0 options already. That weight has to sit on him. It's not lost on me that he becomes friends with his robot. Okay, that is not lost on me at all, right? And then of course you have his sister, who is Judy, and who's known for her intelligence. Like, she's so smart, right, that she never realizes that she's hot, right? That's the whole thing with Judy, right? So there's Judy Robinson, who's the oldest daughter, and she provides a lot in terms of like diagnosis. Like, her brain is functional. She becomes like emotionally tethered to Don West, the pilot, right, for obvious reasons, because they're consenting adults of age, right? So she evolves as more of just like space daughter. She gets real structural, like, responsibility. Like, everybody gets responsibility from a scientific standpoint. From the scientific contribution standpoint, the entire family is held to that high standard. So nobody gets a pass, including her sister Penny, who's the young one. But you guys already see where the problem's going to come with this, right? There's only one Don West. What she does is she provides almost like a pure like empathy, right? In open-mindedness and empathic ways. So she's able to bond with alien creatures in strange environments and new worlds. So she represents the most open-minded of all of them. Will can bond with robots, which he does. Like, the robot becomes a symbol for him, like his best friend, really. But he's always like constantly warning us for danger, right? Where she kind of integrates into alien culture more seamlessly. She doesn't feel as intrusive when she gets into an alien culture. And that's really like the biggest part. And then of course there's Don West, who is the trained pilot. He's the military extension of this, right? And so he represents, obviously, like the protector, the military presence, not patriarch, right? So there is a little bit of tension between him and the dad, because it's like, yeah, you ain't my daddy. He can always say that. You ain't my daddy, and he's right. And then, of course, the saboteur, who is Dr. Smith, which is a really strange presence. I was so relieved, sometimes you got to check yourself. I was going to say that I was so relieved that Dr. Smith was replaced in the series with a woman, but that's not any better, right? There's still, like, that's just more of a sexist kind of mindset, because like Dr. Smith always struck me as like a weird kind of sexual predator who's looking to get the boy off by himself. That can still happen if it's a woman, right? Like in an equal culture and society. So looking at these three, like, these guys are cosmically separated. You're cosmically trapped on this ship floating around the galaxy, versus being economically trapped in Cabrini Green or geographically trapped on Gilligan's Island, all offering different types of options or inevitabilities. You guys are inevitably never going to get off of this. Like, you guys have the least amount of chance of surviving it. I rate Gilligan's Island. I think they actually do get rescued at the end of Gilligan's Island. I think that did happen in the timeline, right? So a strong check for Gilligan for allowing people to progress and get off this damn island after all these years. And I know everybody laughed at you. They're like, man, like, you didn't see, like, you can't see Santa Barbara from here. You can just wave and tell us you were there. We thought you guys knew that we were all right here, right? But they get off. Get a good times. I don't know. I believe like things got better, but I think a lot of people died off by that time. But I think it all did get better. It did trend up. So they did show that they could get off. But Lost in Space, yeah, that's it. You guys are the most existentially coldest of all these scenarios. But they all do the same thing. Like the Evans were trapped in this ghetto for far too long for real writing to make sense. But we actually get that vindication. The same thing with Gilligan. We're starting to enjoy watching these people be trapped and just having to deal with it on a day-to-day basis for years. But, I just wanted to kind of drop an analysis. If you have more thoughts on it, as always, hit me up in the comment section. I'm going to stroll off right now and get a little bite to eat, man. Talking about being stranded on an island absolutely made me hungry. So I'm going to get to that business right now. I'll probably be back on later when I have another myth reading I'm going to drop for you guys.